In this video, I'm going to show you how to make the $3 Umulius Rectangulum. Now, many folders have spent a lot of time and effort in putting their own take on this particular model, so I invite you to check out the information in the description bar below the video, where you will find links to other tutorials and more information, as well as some scoring diagrams that have been made.
Now I'd like to say a quick word about tools for this model. I've designed this model so that you can fold it without using any tools whatsoever and still come out with a nice looking model. However, you will see that I will use a tool that looks like this. It's actually a clay sculpting tool to help me set the creases. It's not absolutely necessary, but it does make the job easier. But keep in mind that it doesn't need to be a specialized tool like this. You can use a pair of tweezers. Just make sure you don't have too much of a point end and you don't rip the paper. Or you can even use a coffee stir stick or a Starbucks drink stopper. That works just as well. I've even used a flattened cocktail straw. So while you don't need to use a tool can make this model a little bit easier, and you certainly don't need to use any special looking tools. You can use pretty much whatever you have on hand that is flat and has some stiffness to it. So get creative. Try it without a tool, see if you can master that, but don't be afraid to grab something handy to use. So good luck.
In order to make the model manageable, it's important that you make sure that you get new crisp dollar bills. And you will need 3 of them, as this is, of course, a $3 Umulius. So, first thing we're going to do is determine which side you want to be the outside of the model. This one, as you can see, is all a green side. This one I have some green side and some white side. You can see here the "In God We Trust" shows up very nicely there, or you can have it so that you see the serial number shows up if you use the white side. So after we decide which side of the bill we want to be showing, we will put that side down. In this case, I'm going to have the obverse side of the bill showing, which is fancy money talk for the front side, and so I will take that and put that down. The first fold that we're going to do is we're going to divide the bill into thirds and put pinch marks at those locations. So what we're going to do is we're going to take this and, using the S-fold method, create pinch marks for the thirds. Now it's important that you do this very accurately, as this model is very sensitive to even minor variations. And so I'm not going to go into detail really right here how to do this. If you don't know how to fold into thirds, please look up some resources on that so you can make sure that you get good third markings. But I'm going to take the time to make sure that my thirds are as precise as possible. And pinch. And then open up. Now what we're going to do on this first pinch mark is we're going to go ahead and crease that, making sure that the edges line up nicely, and set that crease. Now all the creases that we do vertically, we're going to make sure that we invert them as well. So after you've folded it that way, go ahead and invert it on that crease, making sure everything lines up. And again, this is something that is much easier if you have a fresh, crisp dollar bill. If you have a bill that's been circulated, inverting the crease is not very precise. So I go ahead and I like to exercise that crease and make sure it's nicely set. And then what we're going to do is fold this bill in half. And again, we're going to take that crease and invert it, making sure that it is okay. Now that we've done that, we're going to find the third pinch mark that we have on this side of the bill from the first thirds that we made. We're going to take this section of the bill and we're going to divide it into thirds as well. So this is a little trickier, but it uses the exact same process. And again, precision is extremely important. And then what we're going to do is we're going to take this edge and fold it to this third pinch mark that we made. And then go ahead and fold this back on the half crease that we already have. And you're going to fold this back using this fold as a guide. And again, it pays to make the extra effort to make those line up as precisely as possible. What you've done here is this folded over piece right here is exactly 1/18 of the length of the bill. This model is based on a square grid with 18 squares this way, and then we're going to need 5 units of the same dimension going vertically up the bill. But that will leave us with some extra paper, and I will show you how to deal with that as well. Now that we have these folds in the model, we're going to go ahead and fold the model in half lengthwise. Now these folds that we're making, we only need to fold in one direction. We don't need to invert those folds. Now what we need to do is we need to, off of this, we need to make a fold that's exactly 1 unit as defined by this flap above and below. And the way we're going to do that is we're going to make an airplane fold like this right along this center crease. And again, it's important to make sure that that is as accurate as possible, and I'm going to go ahead and really make this crease sharp. I'm going to go ahead and make sure that's sharp as well. And then I'm going to take this and make that airplane fold. And you're going to set the crease where it intersects this crease right here. So we're just marking that right there. We're going to do the same thing on the other side. Setting the crease only where this crease here intersects this new crease. And you're going to want to do the same thing on the other side. And what that does now is where this crease that we put in here intersects this crease, that point, that we've created gives us a distance from this center crease that is equal to this distance. And so what we're going to do is we're going to fold this up, and we're going to find that intersection of those creases and use that to mark where we put the fold in. Once we have that, we make sure that we line up this edge and make sure that this crease lines up. And as we go down the bill, we're making sure that these creases that we made right here line up with each other. And that will help you keep the fold straight. And you can double check because we put another guide pinch right in here. So where this intersects with this is where that crease should come through. And so you now have a straight line. We go ahead and open that up, and we're going to do the same thing with the marks we made above the center line crease. So we find where this airplane crease pinch intersects with this, and we use that all right. So I set that pinch and then line everything up, again using my creases. The edge of the page, the edge of the bill, and the other guide that I made, and it lines up very nicely. And now we have 2 sections of the 5 that we need. Now there are several other ways to go about putting this 5 equal sections in that equal this distance. The method I'm showing you here, I've discovered through trial and error to be the way that gives the best accuracy. I won't really go into the details of why that is, but it's generally easier to see mountain folds, which is why I've made sure that I'm looking at the inside of the bill, so that when I fold this, I'm looking at the mountain folds. It's just easier to see that way. So I'm folding this up against, set that crease so it's a little easier for me to see. Folding this up against that crease, again, setting that where this vertical crease crosses, and we're going to do the same thing on the other side. Fold up to that horizontal crease, set where this crease intersects. One more time. And we'll go through that process again, where we find the intersection of this crease and this crease, and use that as the starting point. Now we make sure that this side lines up, and we go through this process again. Now, this fold will come really close to this center line crease. Don't be tempted to match that edge with the center line crease. It does not line up. It is close, but it does not line up. So just keep that in mind. That will be a temptation for many of you, and it will throw off the whole model. All right. And then one more time on this level. Like this. Lining up creases. checking. That one was close. All right, so now we have 4 divisions. And what we need, though, are a total of 5. So usually I put the 5th one on the bottom part, but it doesn't really matter. You can put it on the top, but I'm going to put it on the bottom. And so the way you do that is the same way we've done the other ones, is you fold this up the crease, setting at the intersection, fold up, and set. Find that intersection point, and crease all the way down. This one's going to be the most difficult because it is very difficult. It's very hard to set such a skinny flap in a straight line. So double check, make sure. And if it becomes difficult or they don't line up just right, it's best to err on the side of making this a little bit shorter than making it a little bit longer. Okay, and now that we have our 5 sections, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, we of course need to worry about this extra paper. And the way we're going to get rid of that is we're going to open this up, and you're going to fold this almost to this crease line here. Okay, we're going to fold this almost to that crease line, but we don't want it touching the crease line because we don't want to interfere with the folds that we'll be doing. And then you can fold this in. And we now have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 sections. What we're going to do is exercise this crease here, exercise the creases that we have in the bill already, so we make sure they fold like that. And then there's the 3rd crease in here somewhere. Here it is. All right. What we're going to do here is take this and fold it in. And then go ahead and make sure that it folds nicely on these creases. Now what we're going to do is we're going to take this edge and we're going to fold 45-degree X's. So we're going to take this and we're going to fold it along the top edge. Don't worry too much about this here. Because what we're going to do is we're going to set this diagonal on the 2nd and 4th sections, or the one on either side of the center section. So when you fold this over and line up this edge, don't worry about setting this corner. Just go ahead and set the 2nd and 4th sections. Go ahead and go a little bit beyond, so you make sure you have a nice crease crossing those creases, because we'll need that as a reference line. And you can do the same thing on this other side. Line that up, and then only crease on the 2nd and 4th. And we open that up. And again, we're doing that on the side that we didn't fold this over, the side that's open. And now that we have those creases set, this crease right here should intersect exactly where that diagonal is. And what we're going to do is we're going to come over here where that diagonal intersects the edge here and the edge here. We're going to put a vertical crease right through there. So find that point and put a vertical crease all the way through all sections. And if everything folded well, you'll have that crease coming to that point and this crease coming to that point. Now what we're going to do here is look where this crease intersects this line and this line. You see it forms a little box in there, and what we're going to do is we're going to put a crease only across the center section connecting those points. So find where this diagonal intersects this line, and you're going to put a vertical crease just in that center section. Just creasing that center section. So you see I have kind of creating that kind of shape. And so now I just need to do the same and close up this box. And this is where you'll start to see how precise your folds really are. Again, I'm only creasing in the center section. And so I'm creating this structure like this. Of course, I have this crease in here. And you're going to do that exact same process between the center line and your third crease between here. So what you're going to do is you're going to put an X starting here at this point, going down to this point, and from this point coming across to this point here. Again, putting the X where the second and fourth sections meet these guide creases. So what I do is I find this point right here, and I find this point right here, and I pinch between those points. And it's rarely exactly right, but what I can do now is use that point there. I make sure that I'm right on that point, and then I make sure that this crease lines up all the way across, and that this crease lines up, and that will help me. And again, I'm only creasing on the second and fourth sections with just a little bit of overlap. And so you can see I went through that point and this point up here. You can do the same thing coming from this point here, going down through to this point right here. Again, I just use those pinches as a guideline, and this looks like it's going right through that X, so I'm going to use that and rotate until this crease lines up here. And it looks like that lines up very nicely. Again, second and fourth sections will give me that X. And then again, I have where my X intersects with this center section, I'm going to put vertical creases coming down. Again, do the same thing on the other side. And there we go. And we've done all the major folding now. What we're going to do now is set some of the creases so the folding becomes easier. So turn this over and fold this in on the crease that we have, and fold this in on the crease that we have. And we're going to find the creases that run the length of the bill, not the short one section ones, but the ones that go across. So the first one that we have is just a one section, and we're going to is this one section, one unit section, and we're going to fold it, pinching, making sure that that folds nicely. And we're going to go down and find the next one. Again, we have crease here and crease here, which are only the one section creases, but we want the ones that run across all sections is the one we want. Fold like that. As you can see, what we're doing here is we're folding the structure like that. And so the next one is going to be down here, like this. And the other one will be here. And so this is the structure with a unit of overlap. It's going to tuck in like that. I mean, this is basically what we're doing. So we want to make sure that this model really, really likes this shape, because it's going to need to help us as we put it together. Now that we've done that, we can actually start creating the tube process. So I open this up a little bit, like that. And in order to get this to make the tube, we're going to open this up. Open this up, and you can already see that diagonal crease in there. Don't set all the way down, just right there. You can see that's going to be the one unit overlap when we tuck it in. All right, and if you really want to make this easy on yourself, go ahead and open it up, and then repeat that process on the other side where you open it up and you just fold it like this, setting that diagonal. Now once you've set those diagonals, you're just going to you're basically just going to start folding on these creases, and it's going to pop into position. And you can see how this is folding back on both sides. If you want to use, if you have a pair of tweezers, this is a good place to use them. You don't have to, but it's certainly a good place to use them to pull this back. I've done this many times without any tools whatsoever. It's not recommended, but it certainly can be done. And at this point, it really doesn't matter which side goes on top. Just pick whichever side you want. I'm going to go with the side that has the serial number. And you've now made a tube, and you now have a 1-unit overlap section. And again, if you have tweezers, this is a good time to go ahead and start setting these creases. And also what I do is I pull up this, because it's very difficult to get the tube pushed on there. So I pull up the bottom part and fold it back. And when we come to the final assembly stage, you'll see why this is a helpful thing to do. Once you've done that, you're going to do that on the other parts where I had you set those creases. And now what's important is you remember that these pieces here, like this piece here and this piece here, fold in towards each other. So this one is going to fold up. See, I'm folding this on that diagonal crease, those diagonal X's that we made. And the other part will start to come undone while you do that, and that's okay. And then as you open this up and push it in, the bill will want to fold on that diagonal crease. Again, it's one of the reasons why it's really important to use a nice crisp bill, so that the only crease it finds is that crease that you put, that diagonal crease you put in. And you'll see one way, if you have a tool, a flat object like this, you'll be able to slide it in like this, and you'll be able to slide up like this to make sure that those are set. And the same thing, it'd be as if I was setting these creases like this. And it'll do that again, of course, 2 more times. So I open this one, I fold it. Now, this one is going in the opposite direction. Remember, these folds go squeeze in towards each other. So these got squeezed in towards each other up here. So this one will squeeze in towards this one, this way. Because it's tempting to, just keep doing the process where you folded these up, and now you're going to fold these up. You could actually make it work. You would just be going without guide folds, and it might be a little difficult. So it's good to remember that you went this way. So now you're squeezing them in this way. And so you see, basically all I did is I started that one, and then as I pushed this together, it snapped into the tube shape. And then do that one more time. Here, I open it up, fold it back on those creases, and remember that this now gets pushed towards this side. You can see that one didn't quite go because it didn't set on this crease here. So I could try and massage it, but instead what I'm going to do is I'm going to open it back up, carefully open it back up, make sure this crease, now it didn't like going this way, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and set that. Okay, that's working a lot better. And as I open this, it will snap into position. Now it's going to take a little bit of extra effort at this point to close that in. You see, of course, it's not going to set just right because this is in the way. And what you're going to do here, though, is you can open this up, and you have this flap right here where you can tuck this in. You can close that up. And then this is where pulling this bottom up becomes really useful. I'm going to make sure that gets pulled up because it's very difficult to get this underneath. But then you just slide it in, and then you can carefully set these creases, and there you have a single unit of the Umulius. And what you can do, of course, is make 2 more of these. And once you have 2 more of those, what you're going to do is you're going to take 2 of them and insert them like this. Of course, that is the easy part. Now comes the difficult part. You're going to take the side that you assembled like this, and you're going to open up this side. Now, I recommend opening it like this and unfolding it. The temptation is to just kind of pull it open. What that does, though, is it puts a few extra crinkles in here, which then make it a lot difficult to close it back up in the end, and that process is quite difficult enough. So it doesn't need any help becoming more difficult. So go ahead and take this and slide this one direction, and then you're going to insert this and then fold this up or push that up so this now comes forward. Now this one is going to be sometimes difficult because any inaccuracies now all come there, but this one is, thankfully for me, sliding in nicely, so it makes it look like I know what I'm doing, but it's not always been that easy. All right, now this part is difficult. I won't lie to you, and I don't know how to make it easy, because what you're going to do now is you're going to open this up and fold it forward just like you've done before, except this piece here is holding it closed, so you can't flatten it. And then, of course, you have this piece in the way. It's just a big mess. So there's no easy way to do it. But here we go. Because as we open this up, we can't open it up all the way, so it's difficult to get this fold even. You see how it's just not even, because this here is holding this together. So you're just going to have to kind of do it in parts. All right, so I got that kind of even. But you can see it gets very crunched in there. But I do have this part even. And remember, we're squeezing these pieces together. So this is going to go forward. And as it goes forward, remember which side gets tucked under. And I'll lift this up. and that's not looking too good. But what I can do is I'm using a tool here to pull that piece out, to hold that fold flat, and then go ahead and insert it like this. And then go ahead and massage the model so that it is together. And there you have your Umulius Rectangulum out of $3 bills. You can certainly make it out of anything more expensive, but then, well, it's more expensive.